Hi everyone, this is Martha. I'm a clinical sexologist and relationship counselor, and I'm at Manila International Airport, Terminal 1. This is the cafeteria restaurant on level 2, and it's very noisy. This is the second time I'm here, and I just moved to this corner after eating, and hopefully the noise is a little bit better here. So just to show you where I'm at, I'm just outside the toilet, obviously. There's another area that I was at, and it's just very noisy. Even the staff here are very noisy. They just speak really loudly to each other. Kind of like our Singapore kopitiam. It's just noisy. Okay, so I want to talk about masturbation. And I often get asked this question. Why do I feel shame when I masturbate? So I always get asked this question, why do I always feel shame around masturbation? And I've been in practice for 10 years, and in my experience, people who feel shame around masturbation may or may not come from a religious background. The shame around masturbation may or may not be because of the culture. Say if you're Asian, it may or may not be because of society. Say the country that you're in, whether it is more permissive. It does play a part, of course. Religion, culture, the society that you're in, these are all play a part. And when I was young, I started masturbating quite early because I discovered that there's a lot of pleasure in my genitals. And so even at that age, I also felt shame. So think about it. As a young child, you may not have been exposed to religion, culture, or societal messages about sex, and yet I felt shame even as a child. And so I have a hypothesis, because I see this with a lot of people in my work, regardless of nationality, race, language, religion. I want to offer this hypothesis, is that masturbation is something that we do privately, quietly, and quickly. Privately, quietly, quickly. So a lot of times we do it quickly because if we masturbate for too long, we get tired. So in order to get on with our day, maybe we might speed it up, we might do it quickly. And we do it quietly because probably we live with people, our family, flatmates. And so when we do it quietly, again, that perpetuates the sense of that is something to be ashamed of. We do it privately, and with a lot of things that we do in our lives, we do it in a communal way. Say for instance, eating, and we have probably seen people spitting, digging their nose, even showering in public. And yet, when it comes to anything relating to our sexuality, it is always something that is viewed as you must do it privately. And of course, we don't want to have to put up with viewing sexual acts publicly, because we don't want to be shocked, we don't want to offend, and we don't want to disgust people, especially little kids. That's why we have laws on nudity and indecency and all these things. So that perpetuates the shame around our sexuality, especially the act of masturbation. So when I was training to be a sexologist in San Francisco, I was introduced to the idea of masturbation circles. And what actually happens is there are people who come together and masturbate together in the same room, not necessarily touching each other or having sex with each other. So those people who want to be watched come, and those people who want to watch also come. So the people who wants to be watched and the people who want to watch come for this experience. And when I mentioned this in my workshop on Sunday, because the question of the shame around masturbation came up, I mentioned this, that there's something like this that happened in San Francisco on a pretty regular basis. And the group kind of like was shocked or sniggered a little bit, like laughed. But I said, look, it totally makes sense because of the shame around masturbation. We do it privately, quickly, secretly. And so when you do it in a circle with the intention of demystifying masturbation, some kind of a healing can happen around the shame. And I'm not saying that you should do it, but it's a food for thought about why the shame around masturbation happens. So after explaining that, I then suggested to the class that the shadow side of masturbation, shame, instead of doing less, maybe work through your shame by doing more. And so then I suggested my practice called Orgasmic Yoga. It's not my practice. I didn't come up with this term, Orgasmic Yoga. I was introduced this as part of my studies, and I love Orgasmic Yoga so much that it is the title also of my second book called Orgasmic Yoga. And in Orgasmic Yoga, you self-pleasure for 30 minutes for 30 days. And you continue the practice even if you have had your orgasm. And it's really not about the orgasm even, it's really about feeling orgasmic. And when you self-pleasure, the shame will come up. But what you choose to do is you choose to work through the shame. And by sitting with the shame, it starts to shift, because there are many ways to do something, including quietly, quickly, secretly. However, by experimenting with different ways to pleasure yourself, you start to expand your comfort level. And so in my book, Orgasmic Yoga, I describe the 7 ways in order to have bigger, stronger, longer, more consistent orgasms, and also orgasmic, to feel more orgasmic. And my book introduces these tools and provides 30 days of practices that one can do. So these are the same things that my colleagues around the world teach in Tantra and in Orgasmic Yoga. These are the same tools that I was taught when I attended the Urban Tantra professional level training. Also the same thing that I was taught again and again in all the different Tantra training that I've ever attended. So I explained to the workshop on Sunday that there are 7 tools, and it's good to start practicing with one, and then maybe you will find that it's not that difficult to practice with another one, and before you know it, if you can do all 7, then that brings you to the whole new level of really understanding your body and achieving sexual mastery. So the 7 tools, I'm just going to say very briefly, to having bigger, stronger, longer, more consistent orgasms, and also to raise your sexual energy, to feel more orgasmic, to change the way you masturbate. These are the 7 tools. The first one is the squeezing and the use of your pelvic floor muscles, also known as Kegels. So when you squeeze, release your pelvic floor muscles, what this begins to happen is you're raising your sexual energy. You're starting to feel a little bit more orgasmic, a little bit more horny than if you did nothing. If you do nothing, you will feel nothing. So first one is Kegels. Then there's breath. The way you breathe as you move energy through your body also affects the way you feel. There's breath, there's sound. So that is linked to what I was saying about how we tend to masturbate quietly. A lot of people hold on to their breath when they are starting to feel orgasmic because they're afraid of losing the sensation. So when you hold your breath, you actually orgasm much more quickly. However, if you breathe as you're masturbating, if you breathe as you are starting to feel the awakening, what happens is it allows for more space and more room for the energy to move through your body. So then obviously your orgasms will be bigger. So there's Kegels, there's sound, there's breath, there's movement. When you move, the energy moves through your body. When you touch yourself, the energy moves through your body. And then having shared this, there's also number 6, intention. The intention of what you want to do for the session, the intention of where and what you want the energy to move through your body does make a difference. In the law of attraction, where intention is, energy follows. So your intention will guide the session. And then there's a 7th tool, which is not officially one of the tools in orgasmic yoga, and it's called visualization or fantasy. And in this you visualize say colors, or you visualize an imagery. In orgasmic yoga, it's very much about being in your body. So we are going into April now. This is the 2nd of April. So I survived 1st of April. And yesterday I saw like several people saying they're giving away their animals, their pets, their cats, dogs. And I don't know. Also there was like a message on like, oh, let's not play the prank of pretending to be pregnant. It's not funny. So I survived the 1st of April jokes that people think is funny. You know, like maybe I don't have a sense of humor, but I think there are things in life that are genuinely funny, and different people have different degrees of funny. Anyway, I survived 1st of April. I'm now in the 2nd of April, and in the past I used to do this, which is I would do orgasmic yoga in May. Last year I did orgasmic yoga training. We call it O Yoga for M month, masturbation month. So yes, May is masturbation month, and there's a story and a history behind why May is masturbation month. It was created by Good Vibrations, which is a sex positive sex store in San Francisco, because the U.S. Surgeon General Jocelyn Elders was fired for saying masturbation should be taught in schools, and she was fired for that. And so as a protest and as an advocacy, the sex shop Good Vibrations made May masturbation month. And in the past I have done something every month for the month of May, and so now I'm thinking of doing it every day for the month of May. So I'm thinking of doing orgasmic yoga again for May. To do 30 days of 30 minutes as a way to teach more skills and techniques to people around self-pleasure, to work through the shame that we have. The shame is there, okay? Let's not deny that it's not there. It is there. But it takes the brave and people who are willing to be vulnerable, people who are willing to get to the next level of loving themselves, to work through it. And you can work through it very gently. So I'm going to, in the next few weeks, I'm going to post something about this project that I am thinking of doing. I already have a Facebook page called Orgasmic Yoga the Book. You can look it up. So you can look up Orgasmic Yoga the Book, and you'll find a Facebook group. So when I was writing the book, I put up the page, and in the past I have documented my orgasmic yoga journey there. If you scroll down, you'll see all the posts. So for the month of May, next month, I'm planning to do that. So for the 1st of May to the end of May, I'm going to once again go on my orgasmic yoga journey. When I put out the word orgasmic yoga, people get confused, people don't understand. So I may call it a different name, but I will still be posting in that group. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. I'm at Manila International Airport. My flight is 10:30, and I don't know how much of the noise affected you, because this cafe is very noisy. But yeah, essentially, if you've missed what I talked about, you can come back and watch it. I talked about why I think people have a lot of shame around masturbation, and I talked about how there are people who go for masturbation circles and why it can be beneficial. I'm not saying you have to. And also, I started to talk about the ways we can have bigger, stronger, longer, more consistent orgasms. And very briefly, the 7 tools that are also in my book called Orgasmic Yoga. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you when I get back to Singapore.